her about a year and a half ago because we had a mutual client. Client had met this realtor. So I came in, I had done a loan for these customers about 5 years ago. And I said, oh, she's like, they were like, hey, I'd love to introduce you to my new realtor. I'm like, okay, great. So we did that deal, went well, started to gain a little bit more traction. She sent me a few more deals we closed. And I think she just really likes our process. So she's like, every time we do a deal, you can tell she gets a little bit more ingrained. And then so I said to her at the end of last year, I'm like, look, how do we ramp up our business together? And she's like, well, I don't know, maybe we can do some joint training. I'm like, great idea. So we're doing a seminar. So I guess the point is put together like a workshop. Maybe it's a first time home buyers workshop. We're doing one on February 10th. And the topic is, she picked the topic, which is fine, how to help your adult children buy their first home. So we're doing that on February 10th, Saturday. And, just through the planning process of it, you get to know, we, met for lunch, you just get to know them better. It's not just working a lead, right? It's just a little bit different of a business path. So doing joint events or doing workshops, because think about it, what can you do? Like, how many direct referrals can you give a realtor? Not a ton, right? Plus, if you're working with 20, 30, 40, 50 agents, you can't spread it. So don't promise something you can't deliver on. But can you help with training? Can you help with education, right? So those are the kind of things I think help. Thoughts?
My mute button. So where's the workshop going to be?
It's at her office. It's at her Keller Williams office.
And is she doing so let me say this, in general, client-facing workshops with realtors can deepen relationships.
Yeah.
Agree with that statement?
Yeah, I agree.
And obviously, you and her have good chemistry where she likes your process. She loves the status updates.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, you're a fucking all-star. So what would she not like about you?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm kidding.
She can even be a Michigan fan and still like you. Here's the deal. So you basically, did she kind of solicit you with the more, or did you solicit her, or was this just mutual?
Well, we had lunch at the end of last year because I said, hey, look, let's get together, let's have some lunch, talk about next year. So it was really like a brainstorming session of how do we do more business next year together. So I think that's the first point, right? Deepen your relationships by breaking bread, having lunch, having coffee.
And that's where I was going with. Hence, I'm breaking this down. Yeah. You made the phone call to say, hey, let's get together. Did you say anything in that meeting? Were there any magic lines that people can take from what you did in that meeting to kind of set up this, essentially this lunch and learn or thing? What do you remember what you did?
I honestly don't remember verbatim, but it was something along the lines of, hey, look, I think we closed 3 deals this past year. Said, hey, look, we've done a few deals together. And, I think next year is going to be a fantastic year. How can we do more deals together? Like, do you have any ideas? Like, how can I help you in your business?
Hey, Brendan, can I say something, Mike and Brendan, just really quickly about something, Mike, that I think that you do that maybe is not understood here on this call. In my opinion, everything that you do in your process sets it up for all of those things being natural, like your weekly updates. I think there's more that goes into this. Your whole process preps you for a person would be a fool not to go to lunch with you and not to want to learn more about you. So it's almost unfair to start here if people don't know that you're also doing that before.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, I think all of us, the bigger thing, and that's fair, but I think the topic is, what do we do to deepen our relationships, not start them?
No, I know that, but Brendan, I completely know what you're saying. And again, I'm sorry, and I'll go on mute here, but deepening it can be done more easily when you're setting it up the right way.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I think that it would have been different if, for example, if some of you guys go, hey, I want to do that, and then you say, hey, we only did 2 deals together this year, and what can we do to do more? And they look at you funny in that lunch, and then they heard only because you said only, and then all they hear from there is, this guy just wants more business from me. He didn't acknowledge shit. He doesn't sound very grateful. And I'm just going to take his free coffee and move on. Michael, you're coming from a place of contribution. Thanks. Correct. And I mean, it's a little easier when you do set it up. So you basically, thank you, Sam. I think you're wise in pointing that out. But let's just say this. All of us have a list of 10 to 20 referring sources, whether we did 3 deals with them, 10 deals with them, or 1 or none, but we feel like it's a good working relationship. You made it clear. I invited her to lunch. We broke bread. I told her what we did last year. And then what were some other things you think you said to kind of foster this?
I mean, I think I just threw out some ideas, right? Okay. So I threw out some, because I really like the idea. I'm doing with another agent, I'm doing a happy hour with all of the customers we closed. That happens to be about 10 over the last 3 years. And we're going to have them invite a friend to the happy hour. So I like the idea of having these like little events with each realtor or anybody that is, willing to do it, because you deepen the relationship with the realtor, you meet other people. So she needs help. Like her insecurity, I think, is public speaking and presenting. And she's been on our lunch and learn. She's been on our Zoom and learn. She knows we can present. She knows I have no problem doing that. So, I offered that and said, listen, I'm more than happy to sort of run the show from the standpoint of how do we help your kids get approved? What are some programs? And so she loved that, because she doesn't have to be in front of, we may have 5 people there, we may have 15. We have no idea, right? They're starting RSVP this week, but I think she just liked the fact that she could count on me to help her generate leads out of her database.
That's huge. So essentially, break bread, meeting of the minds. What can we do together to foster more business? You started lobbing out some ideas, and the seminar is called How to Help Your Adult Child Buy a House.
Yep.
That's an oxymoron, adult child.
I know. Your adult children buy their first home.
Now, I will say one thing. The more we try to help our kids, because we're all like helicopter parents in life, my dad and mom, and I just want every one of you to think about this. How much involvement did your parents have in is not much. Mine wasn't. Granted, they paid for college, but once we got out, it was like, here, go get a job, figure your shit out. Mm-hmm. I think the more, Michael, hopefully this seminar goes well, but I'm in my leadership lab yesterday. I'm now questioning everything around helping my adult children, because if the more I help, the weaker they are.
Well,
just a sidebar. Cue on that.
As Logan Goldberg exchanges looks with his dad, David.
Don't listen, Dad.
David, don't give him the 20% help for the down payment. Make him earn it. Go get an FHA loan on your own, kid. Close some more loans. Work harder. Sorry. I digress. Second question, volunteer Andy. What have you done recently to deepen a relationship with any of your realtors or referral sources? Doesn't have to be a realtor, that you think's kind of move the needle and would be a good technique to kind of rinse and repeat?
Yeah. By the way, I love how Michael started his. I think the takeaway I took from that was just do a bunch of deals with your agents first and then deepen. I wish all my agents that referred me, I was doing a bunch of deals with, but I would say I don't really have an experience to draw on, but I was in a like a small group this morning, and we were talking about relationships, and we've talked about something really, really cool that I think applies to this when we think about getting deeper with people we work with. We essentially broke out, there's like 5 areas that you can essentially pick your network and then almost not like ask for a mentor, but like dig deeper with someone in that area. So the areas were physical health, work and career, spirituality. I'm blanking on the other 2. Fitness, finances. So it's essentially like these 5 areas where pick someone, like maybe they're referring you business, maybe you just really respect their they've been able to build out their financial portfolio really well. Like you can just see that. Maybe they have rental properties, maybe they've told you a little bit about their investments, and like go to them and say, hey man, like or whatever the situation is, but like, hey, I really respect you in this area. Like I see how well you do. Like, would it be okay if I took you out for coffee or lunch and I just asked you a couple of questions about that? Because that's an area I'm definitely wanting to grow in. It could be more specific, like, hey, you were telling me about that investment deal that you were doing. Like, could I just take you out and ask you a couple questions? Or it could be about their workout routine or whatever it is. But it's just pick out something specific and then take that angle versus like, hey, we're just going to be doing, work stuff. So like, I'm thinking, Brendan, like you had a realtor that was referring you not too long ago. That was also like he was like a fitness dude. I forgot your nickname for him, but like something like that where you're like, dude, like I would really just love to hear like what you're doing with your workout routines and like how you approach your fitness. Cause like, I just really respect, what you do in that area. So it was like this idea of like approaching it that way. And I was like, man, this would be so easy to just look at our network and get deeper on that level.
Yeah.
Depending on what area you wanted to improve in or what area you think they excel in.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because like if you have a relationship with a realtor or a referring source and they're always associating your meetings with doing more business, that shit gets old. It's like, oh, here comes Sam wanting to talk about more volume. Yay. Another funnel. Another click funnel.
Sorry. Here were the five pieces. I pulled it up. Physical health, marriage and relationships.
Ooh, yeah.
Work and career, spirituality, and finances.
What would work and career be like work and career balance kind of thing?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I mean, let me say this. I think that if the invitation, because you're kind of saying it's a concept plan and you don't have like concrete evidence yet. I mean, I think ultimately there's a lot of people, and I can only speak from experience. The people that I meet with more regularly, my referring sources where we meet in consistent like times where, hey, let's meet every other Friday for coffee. If you've measured 4 of them over a 4-month period, at some point it goes into those things. And some of the meetings, like we never even talk business. We're just talking about one of those 4 or 5 categories. And the funny thing is like the next time you meet, if it's recurring, we'll be like, oh my God, last time we talked about so much stuff. You want to like get out your calendar. Let's talk business this time. It's like, let's talk about like helping each other make money. But it's in a good way. It's not like because you shared your marriage or your fitness plan or whatever those 5 things are, like at some point. And again, we're talking about deepening relationships. And I think ultimately I was poking fun at Sam. We always want more business. But I think you're pointing out that if we always have meetings about more business, at some point in time, that it's
unorganic.
Is that deepening the relationship? Or is it like, hey, this business is just a performance-based business. or a relationship. And I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think that's a great, I think that's a great concept to kind of take off the gas pedal and go, what are some things that I admire in that person? And strategically, I'm just going to call them out on it and say, hey, can you help me with that? I want to learn more. And I can't remember this weightlifting realtor that I'm working with that you said.
Murfreesboro, he had really jacked arms, and you always compliment him on his arms.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's not even a realtor anymore. He's an accountant. Now the guy builds pools.
Okay. Well,
I called him, I can't remember his first. I'll remember his name in a minute. But yes, he did have some nice biceps.
That was good. Good, Andy. I like it a lot.
Yeah, very good share. April, you still on?
Yep.
Still on. Listening.
Anything you've done recently to kind of deepen relationships with referring sources? And if anybody wants to go after April, I want to go around the horn and get ideas from existing people.
Raise your hand.
Okay. Hasn't been a tactic like coming together for any type of specific meeting, but what I've been doing that seems to be working well is I kind of was feeding off of your one thing, and I had said to myself in January I wanted to be a better nurturer of my relationships and my follow-up with my referral clients. So that's been what I've been focusing on, and it appears to be working because I'm getting referrals even from their colleagues, and or if it's a broker realtor, then the people that work under them. So I've been busy.
Give us an example of that. What do you mean by all that?
What I mean by that is when they send me a referral, it's contacting them within the hour. It's building that triangle of trust with the client, and I have it like on my desk, our workflow. So I build the trust, talk about their goals.
So you're crushing the I got the lead, I'm going to do what I promised you. Now you do all that. Is that simply what it is to deepen the relationship, or am I missing something?
No, then what I do is, it deepens it with the customer. It keeps them engaged, and the referral source has been saying that, hey, we're taking them out to go look at houses. So then I'm following up with them that I completed the Smart Start. It went well. Okay, this is where we're at, and just being more connected with them on the process. And I think what has helped me too is when I talk to their client, I'm setting the stage. Hey, once I've listened to their goals, timelines, told them now this is my process, I'll send you 2 emails. One's with my contact information so you can get a hold of me at all times, email, this, that. The second one's going to be your online application link. The next thing is going to be, then you're going to upload documents. The next step is then we're going to be scheduling a Smart Start meeting in person or virtual. And I have the templates in the email where once they do whatever, then I send it, and it's been like clockwork. And then I tell them when the Smart Start, now the next step is getting you fully underwritten. And so I've done probably 4, I've got another one after this meeting, but 4 or 5, and all of them are moving forward with the TBD. Some of them disclosures are already out. So
you're really dialing in that system of, here's what it looks like to come to April's Ritz-Carlton. Like April's Ritz-Carlton looks like this. And you're kind of just going through the A to Z, or A to, whatever, 1 through 10.
Yes.
And you're saying that I'm trying to hear.
It sets the expectations.
But you're saying that committing to that is helping you deepen the relationship with the referring source just by honoring the commitments you've made, and you're deepening it with the client because you're feeling like, hey, if I know my process well, I'm kind of performing at a higher level. Is that?
Yeah, and it's helping them to move their client along from stagnant to even more engaged to now going under contract.
Nice. Well, let me say this. If your process helps your referring sources stay more committed to their business, then that would 100% be an example of deepening the relationship, because then they're seeing you support their business and get them a paycheck faster. And then that's like, organically speaking, that's like if you could have 20 realtors and believing in you that way, I mean, you would be on fire. So, wow, that's awesome.
Thanks.
Who's next? Gloricel? I'm just gonna start calling Gloricel. What do you got? Deepening your relationships.
I would say understanding their needs and wants and actually hearing them. We all assume like, oh, they just need me to send them leads, but we all know that's not really possible. I mean, probably 99% of my clients come with a realtor or from a realtor. So I'm not really giving leads out left and right. So what are their needs and wants? And then following a kind of piggybacking on April, how do you follow up on that? So if we say, hey, let me know when you have an open house, I'd love to join you. Are you following up and calling them every, week or two and saying, hey, what open houses, what's your schedule like with open houses for the next, 2 weeks? Can I join you? Being more proactive. And then honestly, asking for feedback. Once you do go through the process, especially if they're a newer agent and you've closed that first or second client with them, say, hey, what did they say about their experience? Is there, any area where I just feel like if you make them a part of your team, like, hey, you're part of our team, you as the agent, that helps build that relationship, particularly when they're writing offers, is to remind them, like, when you write that offer, call me, let's write it together. Let's make sure that we are writing up the best possible offer to get your client under contract, just making them feel a part of your team. And then that follow-up, when you say, whatever their needs are, you really need to follow up on those needs. Otherwise, you're just another lender offering your services.
That's awesome. Do you have an example recently of like when you asked the realtor for feedback, anything where there was like, I mean, I know you're saying it, but was there one in particular that brought that to light?
I can't think of a specific, example. Typically it's, positive, like, no, they had an amazing experience,
Right.
And I typically do this too when agents do the whole, like, I'm going to refer you to, when they refer their client, you're one of the 3 lenders, right?
Yeah.
That they refer. So I use it more as a tool when I know they're referring, they send a list of 3 lenders, you're one of them. It's like, hey, if what's the feedback you have? And they say, oh, then, they had an amazing experience. You communicated really well. They love the process. It's like, great. Then how about I just, become your preferred lender instead of you plugging me in with the other 2 schmoes that don't have the same experience.
There you go. We always got to badmouth our competition. By the way, I have learned this, that when you know that you're one of 3, and let's just say it's a regular realtor, and you get that initial phone call and you do the triangle and hey, how do you know the agent? And they say, oh, I met him at kind of know, or they got referred to me to whoever. And, it's not their cousin or their sister. Right. And then you say, oh, well, before we get started, did they tell you how I work or anything about our process and how we've helped clients successfully close on their mortgage, working with them? You could say that 10 different ways, but that would be like the easiest way to kind of bait them into saying something. And if they say, hey, well, yeah, she gave me 3 names and you're one of them. She didn't really tell me much. She just gave me 3 names. I always think this. Number 1, find out. Just say, oh, before we get started, have you spoken to the other 2 yet? And let them reveal if they have or they haven't. Right. And if they have, just say, hey, well, tell me about their process. Was it just over the phone, or did you fill out an online link? They pulled credit, whatever. Like, ask as many questions as possible in that scenario. Here's why. And we're going to get back on course here in a second, but here's why. If you're the 3rd doctor and someone said, hey, I'm going to have heart surgery, and they gave me 3 names. Like, if you're the 3rd doctor that they've called, like, you're just like, tell me what the other hospital said. What did you do? Did you go in? Did you get blood work? Did you go through the 3 tests? What did they examine? Like, ultimately, if you don't ask, then you're just a total commodity. But this is the flip. Ready? Once they tell you whatever they tell you, if they've started, and most of it's over the phone, you can just say this. Well, God, that's great, Gloricel. I think the reason Betty puts me on her list, you're a first-time home buyer, you mentioned? Yeah, the reason she refers me is for our process called Smart Start, where we kind of meet with a client and go through some deeper stuff, not just the pull the credit and do what those other people have done. Would you care if I sent you what that looks like? And then all of a sudden, ready, in the world of Renee Rodriguez, fascination. The person on the other end of the line is no longer like, hey, I don't understand. And then you just play off of it. Oh, well, that's why they refer me, because I take the time to do this. And this meeting uncovers a lot of things for first-time home buyers that they wouldn't otherwise understand or know. And it's no obligation. I mean, I get that you're shopping for a loan. I totally get that. And we can get into all that stuff when you come in. By the way, if you did every shopper like that because you were referred with 3 other names to every realtor, and you do a little digging in that first call, I think your statistical odds are going to be better if you can get them to come in, especially once they see the value of the email and that you have a process that's not fill out my online link and then my assistant will call with a pre-qual letter. And I'll call and in 6 minutes go through your monthly payment and cash to close over the phone.
Right. Remember, and then that's where you can do the feedback, once you get back to the agent, when you ask them, hey, how was your client's experience? They'll say, well, I came to their office. They did a mortgage scale, and then you can say, if your other lenders aren't providing this, there's a reason to move you to the top.
Just one comment, like on that, I think that's good. This is really good stuff. I think that sometimes we do start like in a new relationship. Sometimes we are one of 3 lenders. Just as they don't know any better. This is how they do it. Over time, if you close 3 or 4, 5, 10 transactions with that agent, if you do an amazing job, that one of 3 will go away. You will be the one. And after 5 or 10 transactions, if that doesn't happen, then you're not doing a good enough job. You're not going above and beyond. It's like the Raving Fans book, right? You're not doing enough, period.
Right.
If you're one of 3 and you've been working with an agent for 3 years, you're doing something wrong. You're not doing enough, period.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes, Michael, good point. We freeze when we feel like someone immediately in the first 60 seconds is, quote, shopping. And the reality is they're still gathering information.
Right.
And they don't feel threatened if you say, well, what information have you gathered so far and how did you do it?
Yeah.
If they're really tight-lipped about it, it'd be like, well, I mean, she refers me and other people. I totally get it. I'm just trying to figure out, did you go in and meet with them and go through your credit report? Oh, no, we didn't do any. They'll reveal pretty quickly. No, we didn't.
Yeah.
Gloricel, we didn't do any of that. We spoke to them yesterday morning at just before we went to work, and then we filled out something and they sent us some stuff this morning. And then we had your voicemail yesterday and now we're talking to you now.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, and you could even say, well, did they invite you to come into a meeting or is their process done? Or are you good to go with them? And then they'll say something like, oh yeah, they told us we're approved up to, 380. And it's like, that's when you're pumping your fist silently going, awesome, because I'm up against a lender that they think their job is to do that in 24 hours and that their client is good to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you go, great. If they're open to a Smart Start, I'm going to have an hour with them physically or via Zoom. I'm going to bring out my little, horse and pony show to educate. By the way, I said that because I'm looking at Justin's name and it's taken a long time for Justin to believe that going through a Smart Start and going through rent versus own and going through the steps and showing them the Michael Anthony, here's first and second and third base and walking through a mortgage scale and all the stuff adds up to something more than the 15-minute pre-qual over the phone and the pull to credit. We're not going to dive into that. We're going to keep staying with deepening relationships. Speaking of which, Justin, have you done anything recently with any of your existing relationships where moving the needle into deepening the relationships outside of what you've already heard? Is there anything that you've done that you feel like, hey, this is a pretty good thing and I need to keep doing it?
Yes, but I'll first disagree with you, of course. It hasn't taken me a long time. I think Michael and Andy months ago, opened my eyes to how beneficial that Smart Start path can be. So I'm bought in 100%.
I love it. I always have to throw a little stone at your head to wake you up.
Yes, I know. As Sam and I, get a lot of stones from you.
Good.
The thing recently that I've done, I don't know if this is along lines of what you'd prescribe to, but it's more bribery than anything. I've invited a female realtor that I'm trying to get business from to stay at an Airbnb, and in a conversation I revealed an area that she's going to, and I happen to have an Airbnb there, and so I invited her to stay at it. And then another gentleman realtor that I'm already have a relationship with, already get business from, invited him on a ski trip. I'm not paying for his ski trip, but invited him as a friend to go on the ski trip. So I guess I would call that a little bit of bribery, but definitely deepening relationships if they go on the trip and take me up on the offer.
Honestly, it's just those people sound like they're more in the friend category, and you're like doing things that friends would do for other friends, which ultimately is some of the easiest, lowest hanging fruit to deepen a relationship, right?
Not a lot of people better than Justin at getting to be friends with the folks that he transacts with.
It's awesome.
I'd say the woman I'm definitely not friends with, but trying to be in that category. The guy I've started to become friends with, so they're definitely newer relationships that I'm trying to deepen.
Cool.
Weekend ski trip will do it.
or he'll never talk to me again. I'm not
one of the two, and then you know which way you're going.
Right.
Go for broke.
That's awesome. I like it. 10 more minutes. I think the other topic is going to have to wait till 2 weeks from now, but
that's totally
that's fine. Who's got it?
Anybody else?
Any hands, or are we delegating?
Parker has his hand up.
Oh, yeah, you do. I'm sorry, Parker.
Hey, good morning. Let me take this up. So some of you know I work with a team only, and I'm remote, so it's a little bit different for me. But for almost 2 years now, I've been trying to build relationships with these agents, and believe it or not, some of them, took 1.5 years to get back to me. But what I've been doing that I've noticed results with to deepen my relationship with them is I just become a part of what they do daily. I join their training calls. I do the morning huddles with them, offer to open, houses with them if they're in the area, or, anything like that. I use a lot of Total Expert for the flyers, co-branding, and then a lot of communication at least 5 times a week to everybody. I've got this text thing on my phone with all their numbers in it, and I can send one text individually to each of them. It's called Reach.
Really?
So it might be like today I'm going to send out, how can I support your weekend text? Believe it or not, even though I've been trying to do this for a long time, I might only talk to a few of them, but more and more of them are starting to reach out to me. Just for simple things like putting up, things on their training Facebook page. I'm making videos, doing stuff like that. And just communication and keeping in contact is what's really been helping me get closer to these agents.
You want to be part of their team, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I specifically, just focus on United Home Group. So,
yeah,
just being there. And I don't think I've ever asked one of them for, a loan. I just show up. do what I'm supposed to do, contribute, and be available. And the biggest thing is a lot of them, they're just looking for a solution to something. And if you could just be in the area and have a solution for them at that time, I think that, they start seeing me become more of the team, doing those things. And then they start reaching out to me more is what I've been seeing. And it's taken forever. It just didn't happen. Like I said, I've been going almost about 2 years now with
Wow.
some of these agents on the team, and I'm getting the calls, so it's working.
Cool.
For me.
So you guys Jeff talked about this yesterday. I'm sorry again, Brendan.
Hey dude, you're good. No apologies.
Jeff G talked about this yesterday. There's a fine balance between begging and asking. And I know that in our mind, a lot of times we feel that when we ask, we beg. But what Jeff said that I think holds water, and I did it yesterday, and Jeff Orrell had a moment about this, and Craig Davis had a moment about this. When Parker, you're a good dude. If I ask you for help and you can help me, you wouldn't you?
Of course.
I think that most people, if you ask them, like, we're afraid to ask sometimes. And maybe we have to kind of find that magical way of asking. And Brendan, that's a topic for another call in and of itself. You got to figure out a way to ask every single time you show up to be with them. Now, it doesn't mean beg. It doesn't mean, it means finding the way that you're comfortable saying, hey, guys, this is what I do for a living, and it really helps me and my family and you and your buyer if we can do this together. So the showing up part is 95% of the factor, and then the asking for business the right way is the other 95% of the factor. And that's the thing that we always have to remember. Mike and I had a boss who told us that back in the day, that if you ever have watched a kid and a parent at a grocery store, and I know we've all seen this, and the kid wants something and the parent says no, and then the kid asks again, and then the parent says no, and then the kid asks again, and then the parent says no, and then the kid asks again, and eventually the parent just says, F it, I'm done, you can have whatever you want. Now, that doesn't mean that we should all be crybaby, throw temper tantrums in the middle of the chips aisle, but it means that it's incumbent upon every one of us to work into our script, right? Into our script, how to ask for business. Yeah, Parker, you're spot on. You show up, you do your stuff, but maybe you could have shortened, and I'm not picking on you, dude, because I think you're doing great stuff, but maybe you could have shortened that period of time where somebody gives you something by asking, and it's asking the right way. Parker, I'm less comfortable than you. I'll dick around for 3 years before, but I've started to learn more and more and more. It's like there's a gentle, tactful way that you have to be comfortable with to say, hey, and remember, this is what I do. I love your referrals. I know how cheesy that tagline is on people's, but that's just my suggestion. Show up and ask. We got to ask.
Hey, to piggyback on that, Sam, if so, Parker, if you've got this audience, right?
Yes.
If you could ask your whoever's running the meetings, which I think I know who it is, but if you could ask that person, say, listen, at the end of the sales meeting, just give me 60 seconds. I would like to highlight a success story, because stories sell.
So organic.
Back in the day, we used to call them evidence of success. So you could just tell a story like, hey, look, guys, let me tell you about a closing we had Friday. This is what we did. And what that does, that triggers them to think, oh my gosh, Sally, we have the same situation. Hey, Parker, I'm going to call you after. I'll give you a buzz after this call. And that's like stories sell. So I think you, if anything, give examples of how you've helped people. And if you haven't had a closing this week, make it up, right? Talk about something you did last year, last month. I think that triggers their mind to think about people or situations that they can kick back to you. Tanya.
Good morning.
How are you?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So I think in general, obviously I take each one of these things and criticize them for myself in this office that I sit in that doesn't have a lot of agents that are currently coming into the office. So a lot of them felt during 2020 through 2023 that being inside an office was not necessary any longer. So I reverted into listening. Number one is key here. Because we're around a military base. They're all trying to penetrate into getting on post or into different, getting leads their way. It's a KW office, so it's nice in that essence that I am family to them. But I sit in every single meeting. I listen to what they complain about. I listen to what their needs are, and I focus on that with each individual agent. So there might be 10 agents that show up. Sometimes it could be 2. And even the team lead here wanted to revamp this whole office. I took an entire weekend with her to break down cubicles, to restructure this office. And it's really just focusing on them as an individual and seeing them as an individual and pouring into them also education. So there's multiple factors, I feel like, in layering that to where they have now built a trust, and I show up even if it's not my meeting. It could be a title company coming in to talk to them. I will be there. I will just sit there. And the broker has seen that. The broker has commended me on just showing up. So I take Todd Gosden's information and always talk to them, and I say, show up to go up. So I've been using that on each one of the agents. So just transitioning that into what I do here.
Cool.
Nice.
That's awesome. Very good. Do you feel like you're getting some traction with it?
I think so. So it's all about the friendship, right? Building a friendship, building like relationships with them. I have actually, I'm looking at my sign right here. I had the company build me one of those, what are the sidewalk chalk type of signs? So I put this out and it says lender on duty. So I think that they have come to realize that I am an individual person here to help them and not just a competitive lender.
Yeah.
They will choose me over other people just because I'm present, and I focus on them and not just use them as a transaction. So
cool. Nice.
And it becomes fun, right? It doesn't become work anymore. So that's something that I focus on because I can't ask for business. I'm not a salesy person.
Time spent helps deepen relationships. Moral of the story. Guys, it's 9:16. We're a minute over. Michael Anthony wants to stick on time. He said this year he's he's just got these new resolutions that he can't go that far over.
We'll give it a 1 minute buffer. That's okay.
Right. Michael,
he's been like this since he was a college student. I never met anybody more punctual and organized than him ever.
Ever.
So unbelievable.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Look
Thanks,
at that.
Sam.
He's got Mike's. Are you going to play golf today? What are you doing? Is it nice in Atlanta?
It's 69 degrees today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We went from faucets dripping to air conditioning on in like 3 days. So, yeah.
Well, hopefully you guys got a tactic today that can help you. And if you didn't, we're sorry. We try to make this organic and real. And next time Benton will send out a little announcement of what the topic will be. Yep. I think we said, how do you go out and get leads from the public? We may do that, or Michael and I will decide something else is more important. But thank you for sharing, and you guys have a great weekend.
See you, everybody. Enjoy.
All right, thank you. Ciao.
Bye. Bye.